From KVUE News in Austin, you're watching Texas This Week with Ashley Goodo.
Good Sunday morning. There are just 15 days left in the 87th Texas legislative session, and this week a lot of bills met a grim fate. Let's get to the three things you need to know in Texas politics.
Sexual harassment protections, move passage.
Question occurs pass the third reading at SB 45. Place that out.
The Senate version of House Bill 48 was the last to initially pass before a key deadline. Now the House can only vote on uncontested bills, Senate bills, and House bills returning from the Senate. If a bill you were watching didn't pass, don't lose hope or celebrate just yet. The Senate can still vote out bills, and many House bills have Senate companions. Just remember, time is of the essence.
Alcohol to go is now law in the state of Texas.
Governor Greg Abbott is starting to use the power of his pen. He signed two bills this week, including House Bill 1024. It allows restaurants to sell alcoholic drinks in sealed containers with to-go food orders. During the pandemic, Governor Abbott signed an executive order allowing alcohol to go, and many credit it with helping keep restaurants afloat. The next gubernatorial election is 18 months away, but there's no time like the present to start campaigning. This week, former Dallas State Senator Don Huffines announced plans to challenge Governor Greg Abbott in the primary, and former President Donald Trump is weighing in on Texas politics. This week, he endorsed Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who will be up for a third term in 2022. This week, the Texas House passed a bill that many teachers say will change the way they teach history, and not for the better. We're diving into both sides of the argument, hearing from the bill's author, Republican Representative Steve Toth, about his intent, and former teacher, now Democratic Representative James Talarico, about the implications of the bill. Tell us exactly what, in your words, does the bill do?
The bill states very clearly that we want to make sure that teaching hateful rhetoric like one race is better than the other, it's to demean one sex over the other, to demean one gender, one racial background over another is hateful, and we don't want that communicated in our Texas schools. Now, if you want to talk about critical race theory, if you want to talk about the 1619 Project, this is the bill right here, and it says, a teacher who chooses to discuss the topics described in Subdivision 1 shall, to the best of the teacher's ability, strive to explore the topics from a diverse and contending perspective without giving deference to any one perspective. And so we want to make sure that while current events are discussed, we want to do it from a diverse and contending perspective without teachers proselytizing about the values of their children.
There are some people who take issue with the bill, educators who say, how am I supposed to teach about the Holocaust? How am I supposed to teach about slavery? How am I supposed to teach about these subjects where racism was clearly a driving force in these, even the women's rights movement, without talking about race or gender?
So do we want to talk about the Holocaust? Yes. Do we want to talk about slavery? Yes. We have to talk about all the evils of our past without blaming white children simply because of the color of their skin. Critical race theory says, I'm a white supremacist. Anyone that is not a person of color is a white supremacist. So basically, if everyone's a white supremacist, then no one's a white supremacist. That's ridiculous. So we should marginalize, we should call out, we should denounce, we should decry, we should condemn people that walk in hate, no matter what color their skin is.
So, Representative, I have to ask you, this definition then that you're using of critical race theory, what leads to this? Because you have a Representative, Mary Gonzalez, on the floor, Dr. Mary Gonzalez now, who's actually studied this, and she explained during debate that that's not, that's not actually critical race theory. That's not what people are being taught. That's not what we're trying to teach children when you talk about racism. So where are you getting these ideas of what critical race theory is?
If you listen to the thought leaders of critical race theory, they'll tell you exactly what it is. And if Dr. Gonzalez is concerned about it, This is the bill right here. It's 3979. And it doesn't mention critical race theory anywhere in the bill. It does not mention the 3 words critical race theory anywhere in the bill. It simply speaks about making sure that when teachers teach, they don't call out, nor do they speak against people based on the color of their skin, nor based on their gender.
But people were discriminated in our history based on the color of their skin and based on their gender. And that's just a fact.
That what?
That people in our history have been discriminated against based on the color of their skin, based on their gender. That's just factual.
It is factual, and we should absolutely teach about it. And that's why it says very clearly, a teacher who chooses to teach about it shall, do to the best of the teacher's ability, strive to explore the topic from a diverse and contending perspective without giving deference to any one point. We're simply saying teachers should teach about history, the cruelty and the abuse and the hatefulness. But we should not try and put that on the shoulders of current generations and blame children for the sins of a prior generation.
But you just used the words cruelty and abuse and hateful, and there are some educators who say this bill will enable them from being able to maybe describe these acts using your same words, that if you have to try to present this with deference, if you're trying to teach about, the Holocaust, the KKK, that you have to try to show their points as well as
No, you don't. You can do it from a contending and diverse perspective. A teacher can say what the Ku Klux Klan did, what the Nazis did was evil. They can do that. What they can't do is they can't say to my children, they can't say you're evil. They can't say that you're a white supremacist.
First, I want you to tell me what you make out this bill to be.
This is a bad civics bill. Representative Toth brought this bill to the House Public Education Committee, where I sit, and I voiced my concerns then. And then when it came to the floor, I went to the back microphone and asked a series of questions that I don't think Representative Toth was able to answer about his own bill. This bill does a few really bad things. One, it prevents teachers from discussing and teaching current events in the classroom, which directly conflicts with our educational standards in Texas, where teachers are required to teach current events to students in elementary school, middle school, and high school. The bill also bans service learning programs where students volunteer for class credit with organizations like the Boys and Girls Club, the Rotary Club, the Humane Society. And then last, the bill prevents teachers from having discussions about race and the history of racism in the United States in our social studies classrooms. This bill is not designed to help kids or students or teachers. This bill is designed to push a culture war in order to score political points with far-right Republican primary voters.
We spoke with Representative Toth, as our viewers saw, and he feels as though his bill is being mischaracterized. He says teachers can still teach current events, and he says they can still talk about, the racist history of our country, but that they just have to present both sides. Talk to us about the challenge that presents for educators as a former educator.
Well, I think if you go back and watch my questions for Representative Toth on the floor of the House when this bill was presented to the body, he couldn't answer basic questions about what the bill does. I was just quoting to him what the bill says on the page. And what it says is that teachers may not be compelled to teach current events in the state of Texas. But current events are a part of our educational standards. Teachers are required by the TEKS to teach current events in elementary, middle, and high school. And that's important for our students to be able to identify and analyze and interpret current events if we're going to have a healthy democracy moving forward. My only issue with Representative Toth asking teachers to teach both sides is white supremacy and racism doesn't have two sides. There's only one side, and that is that it's morally reprehensible and that it should be condemned at every turn. And so by asking educators to teach both sides of racism, I think you are opening social studies classrooms up to the promotion of white supremacy.
The Senate also passed a version of the bill without any amendments. Each chamber now has the other's version to start the process of trying to get the bill to the governor's desk. You can read more about the legislation at KVUE.com. That's Texas This Week.